Hello and welcome back to the lesson. The subject is public finance and taxation. We are studying the topic public-private partnerships arrangements. In our last session, we studied contract project agreements, guidelines, and standards. Today, we want to move to the next subtopic, which is composition and role of PPP Petition Committee. The composition and role of the PPP Petition Committee. The composition, let me get it right. The composition, this is the composition and role of PPP Petition Committee. Role of the PPP Petition Committee. PPP Petition Committee. Now, the PPP Petition Committee is established pursuant to the Public-Private Partnerships Act, Section 67. That is the act and section that establishes the PPP Petition Committee. And this committee considers all petitions. It considers all complaints submitted by a private party during the process of tendering and entering into a project agreement under the PPP Act. Do you understand? That is the role of this committee. Because through history, candidates, there have been complaints before the enactment of this act. There had been complaints and disagreements and petitions between the PPP parties, and therefore the Parliament, in its wisdom, established the PPP committee, Petitions Committee, within the PPP Act, and that is Section 67 of the PPP Partnership Act, which established a committee that is known as a petition committee, And the role of this committee is to consider all petitions and complaints that are submitted by a private party during the process of tendering and entering into a project agreement under the PPP Act. We know that a PPP partnership is a partnership between a private party and the government, or a public entity. Okay? So in case there are complaints from the private party, then such complaints are heard or presented or submitted to the petition committee, which considers all petitions, considers all complaints that are submitted by a private party, and this is during the process of tendering and entering into a project agreement under the PPP Act. So the role of the petition committee, as I've said, is to consider all petitions. The role of the petitions committee is to consider all petitions and complaints from a private party during the tendering during the tendering process. All right? During the tendering process and entering into during the tendering process. So that's the main role of the Petitions Committee. So we are studying the composition and the role. So composition, that is the role, but what is the composition? The composition of the Petitions Committee. Now the Petitions Committee consists of, number one, the chairman. One is the chairman. The first party here, or member of this committee, is the chairman, who should be qualified for appointment, and the chairman who qualifies is one who is a person qualified for appointment as a judge of the High Court of Kenya. It should be one who has qualifications similar to the judge who sits at the High Court of Kenya. Then there are 4 other persons. Four other persons with such knowledge and experience as the Cabinet Secretary shall, in consultation with the PPP unit, consider appropriate. So these 4 other persons shall be appointed by the Cabinet Secretary in consultation with the private public unit. So the persons which the Cabinet Secretary and the PPP unit shall consider appropriate to sit on this committee. So the first person here is a chairman, who should have similar qualifications as a High Court judge. Then 4 other persons. Then the unit director should also sit on this committee. Unit director. This is the PPP unit. We are referring to the PPP. When I say unit, I'm referring to the PPP unit director. He's a member of the Petitions Committee. Now, these members, the 3 categories, these members hold office for a term of 3 years and shall be eligible for reappointment for 1 further term. So that's the composition of the PPP Petition Committee. And it's important to note, candidates, that where a petition is based on administrative decision of the committee, the unit or the contracting authority, such as such a petition for a review of the decision shall be made within 14 days from the date of the decision in the prescribed form. And the decision of the committee shall be final and binding on both parties. It's also important noting that the Cabinet Secretary may, by regulations, provide for the procedure for determining a petition. But as we say that where a petition is based on an administrative decision of the committee. Do you understand? Where a petition is based on an administrative decision of the committee or the unit or the contracting authority, then such petition for a review of the decision shall be made within a period of 14 days from the date of the decision in a prescribed form. So that is all, candidates, as far as the composition and role of the Public-Private Partnerships Petition Committee is concerned. We've said the main role of the petition committee is to consider all petitions and complaints from a private party during the tendering process and entering into a project agreement under the Act. So when the tendering process is going on, there could be a complaint from a private party, or there could be a complaint when entering into a project agreement. So if there is any complaint from a private party when the agreement, the partnership agreement is being made, then such a private party can have redress, can petition the PPP Petition Committee. And the PPP Petition Committee shall consider the complaint submitted by the private party during the process, during such processes. So these are also the members who sit on the committee. That is the chairman, who we said must have similar qualification as a High Court judge. Then there are 4 other persons, which the cabinet secretary and the unit may consider appropriate to sit on the committee. Then lastly, the PPP unit director is also a member of the PPP Petition Committee. Thank you for attending this lesson. God bless you. Bye-bye.